I was 20 years old. I was still in school, about 8 hours away from home at Franciscan University. And something just didn't feel quite right. I wasn't feeling so good. I was kind of sleeping a lot. I had no energy. I think there's a pretty good chance I'm pregnant. And so I didn't have any money, starving student, you know. So I decided I was gonna go to a pregnancy care center. I went in the room and nice lady, she was wonderful, very kind and very understanding, and she gave me the test. And sure enough, I was pregnant. She just let me cry and then she says, "So, you know, what are you gonna do? And I was like, I have no idea what I'm gonna do. I have no idea. And so she started to tell me, you know, different things, what my options were, places I could get help. She encouraged me to tell my parents, and that was the part I was the most afraid of, was telling my parents. When I told them, my dad, his reaction was anger. Like, called me every name in the book. I'd never heard him so angry. He was angry at me, angry at my boyfriend. He was just beyond upset. And then my mom just started crying and hugging me and like just sobbing, what have we done wrong? And so it was very emotional. Once I told them, actually, there was a huge relief in me, even though it was the most difficult thing I've ever done, to know that they knew. So now it was moving forward, and I think for girls that oftentimes, what I've seen through working with Stand Up Girl is that's the hardest part, is getting the courage to tell the people they love, their parents, their family, their friends, you know, and it's shock. I mean, I know my parents were in shock. I don't blame them. Now I've come to peace about it, but it was really scary, and I can see why people are. And depending on where you come from, I came from a very strict Christian Catholic home and had very high ideals for myself, and my parents had very high ideals for me, and this just wasn't something that our family did. This wasn't something that our family apparently would ever have to deal with. You know what, honestly, when I look back, things turned out amazingly despite the rocky start. You know, it was my daughter, best thing that ever happened to me. She changed my life. Yes, I had to grow up quickly, but what better purpose than this little girl, this little being, this little beautiful, beautiful angel, you know? And I probably stayed out of a lot of trouble too, if I think about it. You know, I was in the mom mode. I was, you know, a very dedicated mother and very dedicated wife. And yes, I was young, but somehow it just felt right, and it worked for me. A man came up to me after church, a friend of mine came up to me and said, "Hey, I'm designing this website. Do you want to be a part of it?" And I didn't really know much, but I said, maybe, like, tell me more. And he says, okay, so there's these people out in Oregon Right to Life, and they had this idea to create a website for girls facing unexpected pregnancy. And I need somebody to take photos of to kind of be the face of the site. The vision of the website is going to be a little different than the usual. We're going to come from a different angle, come at it from the point of the mother. The mother needs help too, and needs to be heard. And us listening and being there for her, she would have the courage to choose life for her baby. And this really resonated with me because, well, I'd been there. Little did he know, I had had an unexpected pregnancy of my own. I told him my story, and it was one of those moments where you just, okay, this is much bigger than us. Like, he said, we both sat there and he was like, okay, this is good. For some reason, I was called to ask you to do this, and this is just going to be way better than I ever thought. The website started going, and we just started getting letters, tons of letters from girls. Oh, I heard your story, and I need to talk to somebody. Like, wow, how beautiful, right? And then they started sharing their stories. So they started to, can I share my story with you on the site even maybe? And I said, yes, please do. So they'd send me their stories. And so now we have this whole community of people, of women, empowering women and supporting each other, and hundreds of stories up there now from girls from all walks of life. And they're all real. Like there's nothing fabricated about this. And it blew up. It was like people just needed to talk. So as time went on, it became quite apparent that we needed help. And so the team started to grow. And so we brought on one girl at a time, more and more stand-up girls, we call them now, to help out with different things. And so back then it was writing letters, but it has grown so much now that we have people working with social media. It is a place to get information, tons of information. There's so much information on Stand Up Girl about pregnancy, about abortion, resources. We're connected directly to Option Line. They can connect with a pregnancy care center in their area instantly. And it's done in a way that is not overly obvious. Like, it is a pro-life website, but we don't necessarily come across that way at first, which is a good thing, because we don't just care about babies that are Christian babies, or like, we care about all babies, and we care about the mothers, the fathers, everyone dealing with this in this crisis pregnancy. We care about everybody, and we don't want to initially chase anyone away. We want to be there for them. And yes, at some point we may bring them to the Lord, and it's happened, but that's not going to be our initial contact. Our initial contact is going to be, hey, we're here for you. Stand Up Girl has changed my life. I mean, this is something that was done to impact girls in crisis pregnancy, other girls. But what I didn't realize is it was actually going to bring me healing too, because God really took that painful time in my life and all that shame and guilt and all the stuff surrounding it, and he just transformed it into something so awesome. Like when I tell them stories of holding my little girl for the first time and just looking at that little face, and just, I would do it all over again in a heartbeat. You know, when I tell them these stories, it's just, that's what it's all about. It's not about, you know, what people think and what the world says is right or wrong, and it's okay, you know, it's okay to be scared, but just, if you can only just have the courage to just say yes to this little person that you can't see, when you hold her, you'll just never want to let her go, and your whole life, that's what matters now. You know, and I remember so strongly feeling like that, like, wow, I almost missed this opportunity. Like, this is my life. She is 100,000 times worth everything I've been through, you know? And I really feel that girls need to hear that there is such a bright light at the end of this tunnel. You're in the thick of the real dark parts right now, honey, but wow, you have so much to look forward to.